So this week's blog is in response to an article I read on LinkedIn, and the article was putting forward an idea called the Hard Five, where everyone from the CEO to the shop floor stops work at 5 p.m. and doesn't restart again until the following day. And there were a lot of comments in support of that article. I, on the other hand, commented that I'd be happy with a hard 5 if I was convinced I was getting a hard 8 from people. So let's talk about it. Now, back in the late 80s, when I was working in the head office at Tesco, we didn't have any external connectivity. There was no internet, we didn't have external email, and we didn't have mobile phones. So the only way you could be interrupted by the outside world was typically if a phone call came through. And that was really rare. And one day, one of the secretaries did come out and say, "Dave, your mum's on the phone, I'll transfer it to you." And everyone in the office stopped and looked up. And my first thought was, I wonder who's died. Genuinely, that's what I believed. Because nobody interrupted your working day unless there was something really serious to discuss. Because I think the only people that work a hard 8 these days are people whose role involves using machinery or driving vehicles or things that mean they cannot be distracted, or whose jobs are closely measured and managed and supervised in such a way as they are fully engaged in the work they're doing. The rest of us are bombarded with an endless amount of distractions which interfere with our ability to focus and give a hard 8. Now, you might wholeheartedly disagree with me at this point, in which case go away and do the work for yourself. Over the next 2 weeks, track your use of time closely in 15-minute intervals, because you might be surprised at just how much time gets lost to distraction. Now, can you imagine having to leave your mobile phone in a locker when you arrived at the office, and for the duration of the working day, having no access to external communication, except by emergency having access to the landline? Now, I spoke recently to a retired Royal Naval officer who was telling me they're really struggling to recruit in the Navy. And one of the reasons they're struggling to recruit is youngsters don't want to give up their mobile phones or access to the Wi-Fi, even when they're away on operations at sea. Because in reality, if I was running a business, I'd agree to a hard 5 in an absolute flash, in a heartbeat, if I could be guaranteed a hard 8. And I'd even reintroduce tea breaks, which we used to have at Tesco's in the morning and afternoon, because they were an important part of the informal networking that went on in the business. But the reality is we live in a distraction-filled world, which makes a hard 8 very difficult for most people. And the distractions come in 2 forms. There are the external distractions, the things that take you away from work altogether, and for a moment of time you're engaging in your outside world. And then there are the internal distractions. There are the choices you make moment to moment about where you put your focus and whether you're going to do what's important in that moment or what you prefer to do in that moment. But provided we were willing to work a hard 8, we were willing to shut off external distractions, make good choices and remain focused and work intensively, I don't think anyone needs to realistically work more than 8 hours a day. And that 8 hour a day equates to a 40-hour working week. And if you do the maths, that still leaves 75% of your week to deal with all of the other stuff you have to deal with in life. And that's even before you factor in things like public holidays and annual leave. So I think as commercial leaders, part of our role is to bring some balance back to what is an unbalanced debate about work-life balance. We have to make a case for the importance of work, not just for the benefit it brings to the company, but the benefit that hard work brings to the employee in terms of their well-being. Because work brings 3 things that help you live a balanced life. Number 1 is it brings you the ability to build broader connections than just your immediate family or friends or local community group. Secondly, it enables you to engage in something that is bigger than your own self-interest. And thirdly, it gives you the opportunity to develop competency and even mastery of some skills and some knowledge. And all of that is really important to your sense of well-being and your sense of who you are as a person. And that's why I instill the importance of helping people find that meaning in their work in all of the leaders I coach and train.